Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making this upcycled Halloween t-shirt dress. It's fun and easy, so let's get started. This thrift flip begins with a black and white striped t-shirt. This one happens to be an adult t-shirt, size large, and so it's going to be a little bit bigger project, so the first thing I want to do is cut this for a bodice. So I'm going to start measuring at the collar, the front collar here. I'm going to go down 9 inches. That's right there. Oops. At that white stripe. And then I'm going to fold this in the center. Try to match up the seams. This white stripe is the 9 inches, and so I want to go 2 inches lower for the back. So let's go down to this right here. Then I'm going to slant down from this stripe here, the white stripe, 3 inches at the seam. And then down to this one at 6 inches. So from here to here, with the center of this line from here to 6, right on the seam, kind of like this. So then I'll cut. Oops, I didn't go long. I didn't go far enough. Okay, wait, from here. Okay, it's actually from here, this 6, and then this 3, and then this is the 1. Yeah, okay. So I actually need to go from here to here. It doesn't have to be exact. We just want to slant it down so that the back of the dress is a little bit longer than the front. To me, that just kind of adds to the cuteness of the baby doll effect. You don't have to cut exactly on the line. Just generally kind of like that. So this is going to be my bodice. And one thing that I'm sure you noticed is that this has a little polo logo right here, and I will cover that with something. I don't know what yet, but I'm gonna find something, you know, probably some kind of motif from one of the t-shirts to sort of applique over that. And then before I go on, I want to go ahead and cut this into squares. So these will be patched in with the squares from the Halloween t-shirts. I'm going to do two sizes of squares, 10 and 8 inches. And then the bottom ruffle will be 6 inches wide. I have a 10-inch square and I have a 6-inch wide ruler. I don't have anything that's 8 inches, but let's see if I can get a 10-inch square from this side. Okay, good. So I can get one 10-inch square and probably a couple of 8-inch squares. And then let's see if I can get some 8-inch squares from this. There's a seam right here, which I prefer to avoid. So as long as this is 16 inches across, oh, just made it. So there's the seam and there's the 16. So I can definitely get 2 8-inch squares from this. Okay, I have one 10-inch square and 2 8-inch squares, and I have this bodice. Now across the waist here is about 17, let's just say 18, because that makes it 36. And if I'm cutting 10-inch squares, That's 10, 20, 30, 40. So that would be 4 10-inch squares, but I'm going to double that because I'm pleating these 10-inch squares, and they pleat to about 50% of their original width. So that makes 8 10-inch squares. For my 10-inch squares, I'm going to cut them from just a variety of Halloween t-shirts, all with a black background, although I do have a couple of grays which might be fun to mix in, but I'm not totally sure at this point. So what I want to do is really fill the 10-inch square with the image, whatever it is. You know, if the image was smaller, I can use that one for my 8-inch squares, if that makes sense. I will trace around this with my silver pen and then cut out both layers. So I'll have one solid and one print. And then from the bottom edge, if it's big enough, I'm going to cut a 6-inch strip, and that will be the bottom ruffle of the dress. So I'm just going to go ahead with what I have and cut, what did I say, 8 10-inch squares to get started. And I might actually use 8 of the images and not the solids. I'm not totally sure. On this one, I can see that the 10 inches is not going to be wide enough. So there's no reason why I can't just make it 11 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll start off by tracing the top and the bottom. Then I'll just move it a little bit. Actually, it might wind up being 11 and a half or 12 inches, but it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. It's better than cutting off part of the word and having it not make any sense. This looks like a Lego skeleton, doesn't it? Maybe it is. I'm aiming for Halloween images that are like definitely Halloween, not just sort of like a skeleton or a spooky tree or something, but actually Halloween and not too sinister. I don't really have any objection to something that's kind of sinister looking, but for this, I'm just gonna go with things that are a little bit more fun and funny and cute. Get going on this, but let's see if I can't get all 8 images so that I don't, or maybe even just 7, like 7 images plus the striped square. Now I'm cutting my 8-inch squares, and if I have an image that is 16 inches long, I can actually cut 2 8-inch squares, so I kind of love that. So I'm going to try to get this kind of centered up, and obviously I'm not going to get the whole thing, but I'm putting the 4-inch line kind of in the center. Shirts like this one are kind of a bonanza because they have such a large image on the front. They're just really useful, and they can go in between the more prominent motifs, and they're sort of fillers, but they're still really super cute. So I'm going to try to get 4 8-inch squares from this one. I measured it, and it's going to be tight, especially where these seams are, but I think I can do it. You can probably tell if I'm cutting this crookedly. I can't tell because I'm looking at it from an angle. But if you do this yourself, you'll be able to get right above it and cut everything much more precisely. It's nice to have an all-over print like this for some relief. And this is kind of a smaller shirt, and it has a pocket here. So I'm limited in how many squares I can get out of it, but I'm going to try my best. And I'm pretty sure I can get at least 4 8-inch squares. I'm still working on the 8-inch squares. My 8 10-inch squares are ready to go. I've kind of arranged them in a certain sequence, and I'm going to leave the striped one for the end so that if I don't really need this one, I can remove it. I'm going to thread my serger. Wait, here we go. Thread my serger with black thread, and I'm going to seam these right sides together in a chain, just side by side, keeping Snoopy at the left edge. After they're all chained together, I'm going to run the top edge of the strip through my pleater. I'm setting it on 6 so that there's a pleat every 6th stitch. And that makes the strip approximately half of its original length. Now it doesn't work out perfectly because some of the stitches miss and sometimes it hits a seam, and anyway, it's not an exact science, but that's what I'm going to do. Seam them on my serger side by side and then run the top edge through my pleater. Sometimes it's called a ruffler. On my Bernina, it's called the Bernina Classic Ruffler. And I do have a video that describes how to use it. Okay, I'll be back. Here we go. I've serged all of these squares together, and then I gathered up the top edge, and then I just sewed it to the bodice. You can see that the front of the dress is shorter, and then the back is longer. I centered the middle. I only used 7 squares. I did not need the 8th square. So I centered this one, and then I just worked all the way around. Now I'm going to tackle the 8-inch squares, and I think I'm going to need about 15 or 16 8-inch squares. So let me get those all lined up. I cut out 16 8-inch squares, and I'm just going to stack them. I have a couple of these, and I have 2 stripes. I'm going to have one of the stripes vertically and one of them horizontally. I think that'll be fun. And then I have a couple of these, and I'll put that at the end. If I don't need all of these pieces, then I can eliminate that one. 16 might be too many, but we'll give it a try. So I'm going to sew all these together in a long chain, all 16 squares, gather up the top edge, just like I did with the first tier. And then I will right sides together, put the, well, I'll come back and show you. Okay, I'll be right back. Here's the middle tier, the 8-inch tier, and I measured it with my tape measure, and I discovered that it's about 80 inches long. So I'm definitely going to take off this, this one square. The bottom edge of this is 66, so I think I can work in a few inches, but not a lot. So I think this will have to happen. And then I'm going to join these two ends to form a ring. I just serge these right here. And then I'm going to place the gathered edge of the middle tier right sides together along the bottom edge of the top tier, like that. This design has no solid black squares. It's just all print, 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 print. And so it's kind of busy. So I'll join these two ends and then I'll pin them right sides together to the bottom edge of the top tier, and I will sew them together. Okay, you guys, I don't know what I was thinking, but this dress is like big. And of course, I don't need another 6-inch ruffle, but I do want to finish it with a ruffle. So I just cut these to 3 inches. And there's about between 150 and 200 inches of this 3-inch by the time I piece it all together. So I'm going to just serge these together, right sides together along the short ends, and make a big, long piece. And then I think I'll move the camera in and show you how I gather up the top edge. I have a hard time figuring out exactly the best angle for this, but I'm showing you my Bernina Classic Ruffler, which is, it attaches onto the machine just like a foot. You just take your regular sewing foot off and attach this gizmo. Okay, that's a pretty good shot of it. Okay, and then I have this long piece of the bottom edge of my black t-shirts, the hem, and I've cut them to 3 inches and just joined 5 pieces together. So it's a very long piece. And I'm going to insert the top edge of this strip into the machine, and I'm going to back it all the way down to where, almost to where the needle comes down. I've threaded my machine with black, and then, you know, I put this down, and my machine is set on the 6th. So every 6th stitch is a pleat, which is secured by the needle. Is my needle threaded? Yes, okay. And I'm here. Hi. So let's go. Here is my dress, and here is my bottom ruffle. So I need to make sure that the gathered top edge of the ruffle is at least as long as the bottom straight edge of the 2nd tier. So I'm going to start right here next to the stripes, just so I know where I began. And there's actually 2 squares that have stripes. And I'm just going to you know, casually, I don't know what the word is. I'm not being super precise, imperfectly, just sort of lining this up along the bottom edge. I'm not pinning it or anything yet. But when I do pin it and stitch it, this will flip down like that. And I just want to make sure that I have enough length. I also could just measure them both with my tape measure, but where's the fun in that? It's way more fun to do it this way because then you get to kind of like check the pleats to be sure that they all kind of caught, and sort of admire the the squares, and to be certain that you know you have some contrast between the next door neighbors. And I don't know, it's just kind of fun. It's just like a little bit of a review of your design process. And I'm practically positive that this is going to be long enough, but I've been caught before. Okay, looks like I have enough. So now I'm going to do the same process, but I'll start pinning in the back. This is the front. So I'll start with the back. Maybe again, I'll choose this stripe, and I'll start pinning there with right sides together. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra here because I do need to seam the ends. And then I'm just going to gently lay this down and pin it along the edge here. You can pin it like this, or you can pin it like this, or you can use clips. So I'm just going to pin this all the way around, right side down, right sides together. Here we go. I've worked my way all the way around to where I started. Here's my start, and I have this much left over. So I'm going to just cut this about here, and then go to my serger and serge these ends right here, and then fill in pinning the rest, pinning them to the hem here. Here's that seam that I just made, and then I finished pinning this, and we're ready to sew. If you can see, these pleats are like this, boom, 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 boom. And so when I stitch, I'm going to stitch in this direction so that the pleats will be flat. If I try to stitch this way, sometimes the presser foot gets stuck in these pleats, so I'm always going to go this way. I hope you can see that. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this ruffle down all the way around. Here we go. So I tried something different, and I think you can see it. After I stitched the ruffle onto the bottom of the skirt, I top stitched. See that little top stitching? It's hard to see on the black, but I will tell you something I discovered is that when you are sewing over these images that are a lot of vinyl from the transfer, my machine was kind of getting hung up on the vinyl, so it's a little bit of a challenge. But not very many of them were vinyl. Most of them were just sort of fabric. Like this one's completely soft, this one's a little plasticky. So that was the only obstacle, and I just top stitched pretty close to the edge. Also, I could trim this, and I also could have serged this, but this is Rick Rack Ruby, where I want everything to be fun and easy, so I didn't want to put too many steps, but I did want to give you this option of top stitching so that the pleats are laying flat. They're up like that. Now I have a couple of other things. I noticed that these sleeves are super long. So I'm gonna cut off about 6 inches. Let's see. And then I'm gonna go around the sleeve creating a lettuce edge with my serger, which is also called, what's it called? A rolled hem. So if you have a serger, just look up the instructions for a rolled hem. It's a 3 needle stitch. Let's see if I can get these both the same. Okay, so this is black, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 black stripes. Provided that this is exactly the same sequence, which, you know, it should be. This is a Ralph Lauren t-shirt, believe it or not. So I got it at the thrift store and it was, you know, not expensive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this edge, I will create a lettuce edge and finish that, hem the sleeves. And then for this right here, I thought I had a pocket on one of the t-shirts. So I removed the pocket and I thought, what if I just add that? And then it'll coordinate with the squares. Here's one. It'll coordinate with the squares in the skirt. So I'm going to just sort of top stitch along the sides and the bottom and leave this top open. And I will hem up these sleeves and then I think we'll be done. So I'll put it on my mannequin, or it's not a mannequin, I'll put it on my dress form and show you how it turns out. Well, I kind of wish I had a petticoat for the larger dress because the skirt's very full. It's really cute. It turned out great. Here's the pocket, and I don't know, maybe I'll do a spin video. Anyway, thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.